Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to ZBTR TV. The goal is to unearth and document the Zambian narrative in the best way possible.
Catch us live every Saturday on Facebook and YouTube.
We broadcast every Saturday at 10 a.m. EST, 7 a.m. PT.
With a growing audience across the globe, we connect Zambians and share resources abroad.
Be part of our journey. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
With a growing audience across the globe, we connect Zambians and share resources abroad.
The ZBTR TV show.
Did you know? Less than 10% of our viewers are subscribed. Don't miss out. Follow. Be part of the community. Mark your calendars. Every Saturday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Flow live.
Welcome to the show. Sorry, I was on mute. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Friday special feature. It is Friday, November 7th. We are doing this because my guest, we had to accommodate the timing. It's a crazy busy time. Election time in Zambia. We are 10 months counting November from election time in Zambia in August 2026. Thank you for joining us today. This is ZBTR TV. We are on all social media platforms. You can follow us, like us, click, and tell a friend that we are live. My guest today is Mr. Brown Kasaro, I'm sorry. He is the chief electoral officer at the Electoral Commission of Zambia, and he is joining me from Lusaka, Zambia, to discuss the upcoming and the ongoing and a lot of activities that are going on. Mr. Kasaro, good afternoon to you and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Should I be saying good morning to you?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, and good morning, good afternoon to the viewers on the various platforms that you have indicated.
Yes, sir. And welcome to the show. Everybody do share the link on ZBTR TV. This is important so that, particularly for us in the diaspora, to have this conversation with Mr. Kasaro to understand the things that are happening and going on. A lot of things to discuss, a lot of ground to cover, and we can just get into it. After the 2021 general elections, Mr. Kasaro, ECZ embarked on a stakeholder engagement, electoral reforms, which included continuous voter registration and education, e-voting, and also diaspora voting. In view of this exercise, why do we have a prescribed period to voter registration? Why not just make it continuous?
Yes, so you're right. Following the 2021 general election, the Commission did embark on continuous voter registration.
Yes.
So how this was implemented was the commission established offices in various districts in the country. So starting in 2022, I think on account of resource constraints, the commission established 10 offices across the country. So this was the provincial headquarters.
Okay.
Then in 2023, this was expanded to an extra 10, that is another 1 per province, so 2 per province, that's 20 districts. And then in 2024, this was graduated to 3 per province, taking us to 30 districts across the country. So given that this coverage was limited, because Zambia has 116 districts, but we were only in 30 districts beginning 2024. So this limited coverage meant that as we approach the general election next year, not as many Zambians had access to be able to register as voters. Hence, this one-off exercise to get the service as close to the people as possible. So in this case, all the constituencies utilizing what on election day would be called polling stations,
yes,
as the registration centers. So that's the idea. That's the rationale for the mass registration.
Okay. So how has it been? Just give us a synopsis of how it has been, because you know there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on social media. Oh, this one goes there, they are claiming they found the polling station closed. The officer who's supposed to be doing the exercise is late or is not there. All these claims from people, from political parties. Social media is flooded with a lot of negative information, Mr. Kasaro.
Yeah, that's a challenge of life too. So let me begin by establishing the context. So like I indicated earlier, the exercise is using the polling stations as registration centers.
Yes.
So if you followed the 2021 general election, Zambia has 12,152 polling stations. So for this purpose, these are the registration centers.
Okay.
So what we, in planning for this exercise, again, to bring a balance between resource and accessibility, the commission procured over 2,000 registration equipment, pieces of equipment, to undertake this exercise. So this means that on any given day, we can only be in about 2,300 registration centers on any given day. So what we did then was the 30 days allocated, we split it into what we refer to as phases. So this means on average, we're talking about 15 teams or registration centers open at any given time. So meaning that we can only on any given day we're only on average 15, like I said. So
yes,
within this 30 days period, we split that into 6 phases. So that means then at the end of the 6 phases, we would have visited all the registration centers in a constituency. Okay. So as the exercise began, we were in all the constituencies at the same time. But as the exercise started on a given day, we're not opening all. So let's say constituency has 60 polling stations. Not all 60 are open on day one. So only 15 of the 60, for example, or 72 or however, would be open. So, and this is what we refer to. So we put together what we're referring to as a deployment plan, which did disseminate to indicate which centers are open on any given day. This was shared with civil society, with political parties, with the general public via website and our social media platform. But also on the ground, our agents are the local authorities, the councils. So
Yes.
we utilize these to disseminate this information so that then citizens are aware. So in some cases, I mean, even when the political party office in a particular district was availed this deployment plan, we had cases where people would go to a center that is not designated for that period and say, no, I've gone to the registration center and it's not open, when really it was not scheduled for that phase.
Okay.
So the other aspect also to note is that especially as you go into the rural areas, the distances between the polling stations are quite significant. So we would open a phase for 4 days, and then the 5th day designated it as a day for moving. Okay. And that information was also shared. So you find a person would go to a center on the day that they are relocating to the next registration center and said, oh, look, the officers are not here, they're not working, and so forth. But over and above, so really that's the general outlook. Now, in the urban centers, I mean, wish to acknowledge in terms of some challenge is that in the urban centers, in the rural areas, our officers would camp are camping because the exercise is still going on. As you may be aware, we started on 13th October and we're running into 11th of November. So in the rural areas, our officers are going ahead to camp, okay? And so that then they are available for registration. But in the urban centers, you will note that these registration centers are not probably in secure places. So in the evenings, at the end of the day, they would demobilize and knock off and then redeployed in the morning. Okay. Now, so granted, I think in the early stages, the supervisors that were managing the logistics of them being deployed as early as possible were getting the hang of it. And in a few instances, we got officers reporting late, not at 8, because of the traffic in town and so forth. But that, as the phases have continued to progress, that has been addressed and officers are on time. So generally, that's the outlook of the exercise in terms of the operational side of it. Wish to note here also that we, in this particular exercise, what we're targeting is people that are not yet registered as voters. Okay. So in 2020, as the Commission was preparing for the 2021 general election, it undertook a fresh registration. You may be aware that our law provides for a permanent register of voters, but due to, I think, the age of that particular register, a good number of people there had since died, so its accuracy was quite not in a was compromised. So at that point, the Commission undertook to do a fresh registration. So the 2021 register was fresh, but given that we're just 5 years downstream, we could not again say we do afresh. So we said, okay, let's update the register that was established in 2021. And so therefore we're targeting that segment of the population that is 18 and above, but not yet on the register. So those that registered in 2021, or indeed during the continuous registration that we were speaking to earlier, need not register now. However, the only instance in which they would need to undertake what we call registration would be an update. So in this case, we're referring to transferring from one polling station to another, or indeed replacing a lost card or damaged card. So that's the approach, yeah. So I think as per the numbers that we have released for the first 4 phases, of course, it is, I think, of everyone's concern that the turnout has not been as expected. So that's an issue that the Commission has acknowledged, and we appreciate that it's in terms of the underlying factors could be there are many. Okay.
What do you think has led to the low turnout? What are some of the factors you've established in your investigation?
Yeah, so in the early stages, in terms of the factors that could be and are in the control of the Commission. So in the early stages, the Commission did acknowledge that we needed to ramp up our sensitization, especially that in as much as this is about the fourth time, because I think this aspect of undertaking registration in phases started in 2010 in the build-up to 2011. The same did happen in 2015 in the build-up to 2016, as well as 2020. But what we've noticed that, again, what we noticed early is that still we needed to remind the citizens and re-emphasize the fact that this is in phases, and we'll have registration centers open in phases in their respective constituencies. So we needed to ramp up that sensitization. We have what we refer to as voter education facilitators on the ground that are paired with each of the registration officers. So if a registration officer is at a particular center, we have a voter educator paired to that officer, sensitizing the community around that registration center. So that we've ramped up. We've also brought in the Zambia, the ZANIS, Zambia News and Information Service, to help us with mobile publicity via megaphones and so on, especially in the peri-urban and densely populated communities, in the rural areas, in the villages, to really bring awareness among the citizen. Of course, called upon stakeholders to join in, civil society, the church, and other faith-based organizations, traditional leaders. So we've seen that in terms of the sensitization that has been scaled up. We've also brought on board the mobile network operators through mobile phone network operators through the Zambia Information and Communication Technology Authority, ZICTA, whereby they have broadcast SMSs to all mobile phone holders. Again, sending a message that voter registration is ongoing and you can go and register to vote. Yeah, so that's an area that the Commission did identify in terms of the factors. Listening to news on the ground and so forth, rather discussion programs on radio and so forth, is you also get a sense of apathy from citizens around participation and so forth, due to one reason or the other. But again, we are continuing to emphasize that, look, voting is a very important civic right. So do get your voter's card. You may not know how you want to exercise your right to vote now, but it's better you have the card, so that when that time comes, you can cast your vote. Yeah.
Okay. In the initial question I asked you in your electoral reform, stakeholder engagement, I mentioned voter registration, education, e-voting, and diaspora voting. Now, I want you to address the last part of that, diaspora voting. There's no voter registration exercises in the diaspora. Any specifics to seeing the diaspora voting?
At this stage, you're right. I think those consultations were commenced after the 2021. However, they are still ongoing. So as we speak, there's no provision for registration of voters in the diaspora.
Okay.
And even voting. So for the 2026, for the citizens like yourself out there, do your best to make your way to Zambia to come and cast your vote.
Okay. Now, I have a friend who came over there to vote. I hope she's watching, and she can probably, she went to a registration center, tried to register. She lives here in the US, and she was asked all these questions which threw her off. Which ward, which constituency are you in, and all those things. Citizens being asked those questions, which ward do you live in, and all those things?
Well, maybe the officer could have done better to explain the rationale. So the rationale for those questions is really to locate where you would like to vote from. As you may be aware, in Zambia, voting is polling station based, because we have to cast a a physical ballot paper, and you
Yes.
can only vote in one polling station. And that is important for us so that for purposes of planning, in terms of how many, what quantities and so forth of voting materials to be able to send to a particular polling station. So those questions really were meant to be able to identify the polling station to locate that voter. So probably our officer could have explained that, so that then the citizen is not feeling interrogated, as it were.
Yeah, that's exactly the way she felt. She felt like she was being interrogated. Okay, let's make some progress here. We have a lot to talk about in a very short, limited time. On Wednesday, this past Wednesday, the day before yesterday, you held a media briefing and addressed a lot of issues. In your view, and out of that media briefing, there came a false alarm that the voter registration period had been extended. Where did you think that, what was the source of, I don't know if you've established the source of that or what led to that false information?
All right. So in terms of, yeah, you're right. We after the press briefing, we did come across a social media posting that the commission had extended the voter registration period into February 2026. So in terms of the source, I think as part of the remarks, besides addressing the current voter registration exercise,
yes,
part of the remarks did look ahead to say what will follow after this. So the February 2026, the context of the statement and the February 2026 was referring to the inspection of the provisional register of voters.
Okay.
So what the statement referred to was the fact that following this registration process, the commission will proceed to prepare what we may call a draft register of voters. And by law, we are required to display that for public inspection. And this public inspection is scheduled for February 2026. So that in the remarks, that's the only place where the month and the month February 2026 came up. So that's our suspicion that that's where it came from.
Okay.
But it's surprising because we did share a copy of the remarks. So if one paid attention, they could have understood the context within which February 2026 was brought up. Yeah. So yes. So
I actually have a copy of the memo here. I printed it, and I was reading your response, and I said, okay, it's interesting. Social media is capable of anything. As an add-on to that question, Mr. Kasaro, can you also explain what the 4 phases of the registration? Because I keep hearing these phases, and I'm saying to myself, let me just quote from your memo here, which is point number 2, and I quote, it says, the commission has recorded more than 1.2 million registrations from phases 1 to 4, which includes both new voter registrations and updates to existing records. Can you explain that, please?
All right. So the first part is the phases. So
yes,
what remember, like I said, to say that we have 30 days to undertake this exercise. But in terms of the pieces of equipment or the voter registration teams, we only have 2,300.
Yes.
So 2,300 have to cover 12,000 plus centers in 30 days. So we've split that 30 days into phases of 6 phases. So that's 5 days, okay? So meaning that in a particular phase of 4 days plus the day of transitioning to the next phase, officers are at a set specific registration centers in a constituency. So in phase 1, we were at selected centers in all the constituencies at all together throughout the country, 2,300. Then in phase 2, we moved to the next set of 2,300. Then in phase 3, we moved to the next set of until phase 6, when we have covered the whole 12,000. So now that was a natural point for us to update the nation to say, okay, we've completed the first 2,300 centers. How many people have we captured?
Okay.
Then we've moved to. So that's the language in terms of the phases. Now, in terms of the numbers.
Before you move to the numbers, Mr. Kasaro, now so basically the registration process is a mobile, if I may use that expression. Yes. It's a mobile exercise. My question is this information being announced on radio, television to tell the people that I know it's a mammoth task. Is this information being communicated to the citizens to say, on this day, the registration centers are moving everywhere? Is that being done?
Yes. So the commission is utilizing community radio, private and the public radio, as well as commercial and public TV.
Yes.
As well as, remember earlier on, I did refer to the voter education facilitators, that these are on the ground, personnel on the ground, physically advising the citizens that now we have completed, we are moving from this set of centers to the next set of centers in our particular constituency. So if I may zero it down, you find that, like I said, we're saying this registration officer is paired with a voter education facilitator.
Yes.
So that facilitator's job in that community would be say, all right, voter registration now is moving to the polling station nearest to you. So this is the registration center at, say, Kamala Basic School. So now the registration center at Kamala Basic School is open. You can go and register and so forth. So that information is being shared. Granted, it's a mammoth task to share it, but it is being shared. We're also leveraging the church, our voter education facilitators. Gratefully, the church has allowed, in many have granted them access to their services over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, to announce the congregants that, all right, the registration center near your area, it will be open for these days, access this service.
Okay, excellent. You were about to talk about the figures.
Yes, so I was saying that like we indicated, the primary target is new registrations. However, in addition to the new registration, we are also processing updates. So these updates is transfers, those who would have liked to change the polling station where they would like to vote from, those who would like to replace lost or damaged voters' cards. So in announcing, when we said over 1.2 million registrations, that's a combination.
Yes.
So in the statements, in the original statements, we were very clear. So this 1.2 broken down as follows: over 560,000 new registration, and then over 600,000+ updates. So that's the clarification. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. That is very important. Okay, I want us to listen to this video clip by Honorable Kangombe, and then let's see how you can respond to some of the things. I know you're watching it for the first time, but I know you can capture this. Assessment of the ongoing voter registration. Finchmo, what have you observed in your constituency? Generally, wherever you have been, how is this voter? This question is important because you know that there's a lot of talk on social media about places being found closed and people not being able to, the lines are long and all those things. So what have you found out yourself?
Well, my assessment, first of all, is that ECZ, which is the Electoral Commission of Zambia,
yes,
has to provide, every registration center is supposed to have a banner outside. So you can banner. I think I was at Kamfinsa Secondary School and I visited 4 places. The banner is there. But you see what transpired is that the turnout has been very poor. And one of the reasons why the turnout has been very poor, and this is a complaint I have, is that ECZ is an institution that gets funding through the national budget.
Of course.
So we did allocate resources in the 2025 budget for them to do sensitization, for them to do the actual registration of voters, basically get people. That's their mandate. It's not up to the candidate, because I've seen candidates are doing more work in terms of sensitizing the voter than the ECZ. So we are leaving things to, oh, is this person interested in contesting? So they are more aggressive than the people who are actually being funded to do the sensitization. So I think that the number of people going to these registration centers has been very poor. I know, for instance, that we can do more numbers, but you see, Nathan, you can't capture a voter if they don't have an NRC.
No.
Okay. So,
sorry to interrupt you. Do you remember what happened? They said when umuntu ngapoka registration card, then they also can register as a voter on it's, what did they call it? Ongoing. What happened to that exercise?
Well, so for instance, here in Kitwe, Kitwe has got 5 constituencies, okay?
Wow.
Probably with the second largest population after Lusaka. So where are people getting their NRCs from? They are getting their NRCs from Palapaboma town in Kitwe town center. There's a registration center. That place is always packed. Even before you talk about people trying to replace their NRCs for voting purposes, majority of them are actually lining up. So now the problem is that we have too many people wanting to get NRCs on a normal basis, just a normal NRC. So now, I was trying to link these two because every registration center for voters ideally should also have an NRC issuing officer. So what should be happening is that in a compound where we have a secondary school, there must be an ECZ officer next to a national registration officer, so that at the end of the day, if we have someone who's 17 years old, they will be 18 at the time of voting. They should first be given an NRC, and then immediately they are allowed to do the voting registration. Yes. So these are things that we've been discussing, and I'm sure as we go into the program, I'll try and share some of the things that I think needs to be done in changing the law, because the law is what guides registration. So for me, I think.
Okay. I don't know how much of that you'd like to respond to. First, he says candidates are doing more sensitization than ECZ.
Well, that's more of perception, really. So where we're sitting is that the commission has called upon stakeholders to also speak to their, if I may use the word, constituency in those, to encourage as many citizens, because every voice that is added to this does help in terms of getting as many people to register as voters as possible. But be that as it may, the commission has undertaken, as I earlier outlined, to say, look, this is our mandate, it's our responsibility. So we have put in place the strategies that I did speak to earlier. Now, in terms of the national registration card, this is an item that the commission did speak to, I think, in all the updates that we have shared with respect to this voter registration exercise.
Yes.
So as part of the planning for this exercise, we were in close consultation with the Department of National Registration, to the extent that earlier in the year, they undertook what was referred to as mobile issuance of national registration cards.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, they started the exercise around April, and it took 90 days for them to go around the country. So now citizens, so one of the things that they did share with us was that whereas from the Electoral Commission point of view, because for us, for one to register as a voter, all they need to present their agreed national registration card. So in essence, our team is basically one registration officer and a police officer. So it's just a 2-person team. But for the National Registration Office, because of the legal requirements around issuing that national ID card, their teams are bigger.
Okay.
you could even, I think they were speaking to numbers like 5 officers each undertaking a different role in the whole process of issuing it. So as such, for them to mobilize an equivalent of the 2,000 that we're talking about as Electoral Commission is a challenge in terms of a resource perspective. However, that is the reason they said they'd better go in ahead of the commission so that then they could do their mobile issuance by segmenting over a longer period the country. So they went through. But however, we said, look, in addition to that, when we get on the ground, it would be helpful for the citizens, assuming you have captured everyone, it would still be helpful that you are in every constituency to be available in the event that people have lost or they were missed out in your original exercise. So what we can confirm now is that they're in every they are right across the country. It may not be in every constituency at the same time, but our officers have reported that there are teams of the National Registration Office issuing NRSs across the country. So there are efforts there, but in terms of the details and how wide that is, probably you may wish to bring in the office to give a detailed statement that way. So I think I'm just speaking into it from the Electoral Commission perspective. Okay. Yeah. In terms of the other aspect around the law, I don't know how far that conversation went, but of course, to acknowledge that I think every electoral process should be reviewed and improved, starting with the legal framework every time you undertake, you go through an electoral cycle. Yeah.
Okay, let's just read some questions here from the people watching as we transition. We've gone like 36 minutes into the conversation. Let's engage the audience. All right. Brenda Chama here, she lives in Dallas, Texas. She says, what deliberate actions have the commission taken in order to make sure it maximizes the number of people registered?
Yeah, so the design of the program itself, as earlier spoken to, because the location of these registration centers are polling stations, which are closest to the people. I think even in the rural areas, we do as much as possible to ensure that in the remotest, we are on average around 5 kilometers to the furthest person in terms of residence. So we've taken the registration process closer to the people by saying we'll come to the registration centers, which are the polling stations. So that is a deliberate effort. Then the sensitization that we've been speaking about is the next level of effort to ensure that as many people are aware as possible. Then the third is the fact that the system is open. So one does not necessarily need to wait until our registration officers are at their polling station where they would want to vote for them to register. You can access the service at any open registration center as long as you indicate where you would like to vote from. Then they will be able to attend to you. So those are some of the strategies. And then the aspect of the cutoff date. What the commission has done, and this is not the first time as always, is that for purpose of the 2026 general election, because the register is scheduled to be certified on 30th April 2026, what the commission has said is even if a young person is not yet 18 during this period of the 30 days, as long as they'll turn 18 by 30th April 2026, they're eligible to register, because by the time we're certifying the register, they'll be 18. Yeah, so those are some of the strategies that we've put in place to maximize the numbers.
Okay, and okay, let me not go ahead of myself. Let me stick to the questions the people are asking here. I almost jumped onto something else. Okay, Derek says he also lives in Texas. Why can't we change the law to allow citizens to register as voters at 16 years when they apply for their first NRC?
I think that's a debate that is going on globally. I think you will note that voting age is not unique to Zambia. I think on average
it's 18, right?
Yeah, it's 18. The franchise is at 18 throughout the world. So, but debates are going on. So, like I said earlier, I think after an election, there is a review of the legal framework. These are debates that we could have. For us in Zambia, the 18 years age is enshrined in the constitution.
Okay.
So that could be an item that could be discussed at that level as we are reviewing the constitution.
All right. And Monica Mwewa, this one is in Zambia. I don't know which city. Also, she says, also there should be a police officer at Kitwe Civic Center to give police reports. People are finding it difficult to go to Central Police and come back for a replacement of voters' card. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes. What the commission did, I think, in collaboration with the police, we made arrangements that, remember earlier I said, each of our registration officers, so every registration center has a police officer. Okay. Now, what we did was we said the police command issued a command and a waiver that each of those police officers is empowered to be able to issue a report for a lost card, so for a person to be able to get a replacement. So the voters out there don't need to go to this a police station or a police post or the central police in a particular city district, but rather just go to the registration center. Yes, we've received reports that they've run out and so forth, but we have facilitated by providing the necessary stationery so that these reports are available for citizens to be able to report to the police officer at the registration center. They're given the report, then they move to the desk and get a replacement.
Okay, interesting. The question I wanted, when I said I don't want to go ahead of myself, you've alluded to the fact that the voter registration inspection, I hope that's the correct terminology, will be done on 30th April. And also, I believe this exercise, the rule is that anybody who will be turning 18 by April can register as a voter. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Why not, Mr. Kasaro, just let the registration end in April, if that's the case?
Yes, so there are certain processes that the Commission has to undertake, really practical issues that we cannot run away from. So as we are conducting the registration, this is an offline process. It's not an online process given the infrastructure challenges that we have. So the information as it is not yet consolidated.
Okay.
So once we close the registration, we bring the information into the Electoral Commission in Lusaka, consolidate the information, then we prepare what is called a provisional register, so a draft register. Again, the law prescribes that once we prepare this draft register or provisional register, we take it back to the people for inspection. So we print physical copies that pertain to a particular polling station that are open for public inspection. So this serves two purposes. Firstly, for those that applied to be on the register to go and check that their details have been captured and correctly captured.
Okay.
And verify that they are on the register, so that if they were missed out for any unlikely reason, they can proceed to make a claim with the Commission, and that situation is corrected. And then there's an aspect also of objections, though rare, but the law does provide that any citizen or registered voters can object to an entry on the voters roll and say, this person, as far as I'm concerned, is not qualified to be on the register, and provide the necessary evidence, and then the Commission is supposed to address that. So once that happens again, the information is brought back, because again, that's an offline process. So once that process is, and for this calendar, we're looking at 7 days in February. So once that process is concluded, we bring back the information again for consolidation and cleanup to prepare the final register. So the date, the 30th April you referred to, the process that we say certifying. So this is like you're saying, okay, now here we are. This is the final document. This is the final voters register of voters that will be used for the subsequent steps in the electoral process, to leading to 2026, beginning with the nominations in May. Yeah.
Okay. Two-part question. So when the voter registration process, as you have explained, is done, the citizens will be expected to ensure that they are on the roll, on the register roll. Is that right?
Yes. So
where can they do this? Anywhere, just like they can register anywhere?
So they can do this anywhere in two ways. Okay. So during the inspection, we avail this register in two forms. There's a physical copy at each and every polling station, but given the volume of print that is required for the polling station, we only avail a copy for that specific polling station. So if they want to verify physically, they can only do it at the polling station where they applied to go and vote.
Okay.
But it's also availed electronically. So electronically, there are various channels of access. So through the website, the Commission website, it will be made available. Then a person can verify their details from anywhere. But also, if for those without access to the internet, but access to a mobile phone network with a basic phone, will avail a service via a short code. So this is the USSD. In this part of the world, very common to access quite a good number of services. So you dial *214#, which is the short code for the Commission. You're provided with a menu, and then you're able to interactively provide your details, and then a confirmation message will be displayed on the phone that you're a registered voter at this polling station. So that's those are the channels and the platforms that the Commission will avail to citizens out there. So once they've verified if all is good, that is enough. They don't need to do anything else. It's only if there's an issue that needs to be corrected, or probably in the unlikely event that their details are missed altogether, that they need then to go ahead and access a physical registration, physical inspection center to put in a claim, and so that then their issue is resolved by the Commission.
So say that again. Star what? 214?
Yeah, *214#. And even as we speak, that service is available. For those that already registered, that service is available. They can check their details.
Let's see if this is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So just to, again, be more precise, so this is available to those who registered in 2020 and during continuous registration before 2025. Why I'm saying so is because, like I said, the current registration, we are offline. Our kits are offline out there. So if you registered yesterday or the other day, you will not be able to get your details if you dial *214#. Just to be clear. Yeah.
Okay. I think let me just indicate that here, verification code, so that everybody knows that this is what is supposed to happen. Hope this is helpful to people watching and those that are going to watch. Another question, Mr. Kasaro.
Maybe before you get to the question, this code is also usable if you want to find a registration center that is open in your constituency today.
Oh, that's
so
good.
Use that same code, you'll be able to find a registration center that is open. So, but just to take note that this is only available in country. You have to be on our mobile phone networks here for you to be able to access this.
Okay. My before I put up Musenge's question or point here, who can register electronically?
Yeah, so electronic electronic registration in this concept, we refer to it as a Commission as pre-registration because the lower the way it sits, a person cannot register electronically in terms of the entire process, because a person has to present themselves physically before a registration officer. So if a person has access to the internet, they can go on to the pre-registration platform, which is on ovr.elections.org.zm, and start the process there. So the advantage of that process is that first you guarantee the accuracy of the details because you're capturing the details yourself. And then in terms of the completion of the process, we have dedicated centers that the same platform will outline, so where you can go after you've done the online pre-registration. So you can go there now to complete the process, but it's quicker because all the information is captured. All you need to do there then is just capture the biometrics, your fingerprints, and then recapture the photo as it were, and then you're issued the card.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. Before I go to a big question here, Musenge says, as of today, we have more calls for an extension. I believe that's voter registration. Are these calls realistic, seeing the registration is still ongoing, or maybe as ECZ, you are considering extension looking at the low turnout in the first days?
I wish to acknowledge that indeed those calls have been quite prominent in terms of right across.
We have 4 days remaining.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, so for now, it's to indicate that the Commission is paying very particular attention to this cause and is looking at the performance in terms of phase 5, which closed the other day. We are now in phase 6, and we are only, like you said, we're remaining with 4 days. So the Commission is monitoring the exercise very closely, and will soon be able to address the nation in terms of how best to manage the registration for optimum access to the citizens out there. So those calls are being acknowledged and are being considered by the Commission, and at an appropriate time, given the circumstances on the ground, the Commission will make a decision and inform the nation.
Okay. Here's one of the major questions I think everybody would like. We have 2 major exercises happening in the country right now, Mr. Kasaro. Voter registration and the Constitutional Technical Committee receiving submissions to amend the Constitution, which may lead to delimitation of some constituencies. Will the delimitation of constituencies be implemented after the 2026 general elections? If not, won't this lead to complications during voting?
All right. So delimitation of constituencies is driven by the provision of the Constitution. So like you've rightly said, there is a process currently ongoing. Now, depending on the outcome of that process,
yes,
if the process results in the Constitution prescribing an increased number of constituencies, the Commission would have to undertake a delimitation. And like any other law or legal enactment of any law, there's always the effective date. So if the outcome of this constitutional review process says that results in a provision that requires that the number of constituencies be increased from the current 156, and the effective date is the next general election, which is August 2026, that means then the Electoral Commission would have to undertake a delimitation of constituencies. Okay. Now, when it comes to complications, I think the primary concern here would be the voter. I think what's to be noted is that the delimitation of constituencies is a regrouping of the smaller entities. So what are we talking about here? The polling stations or the wards are rearranged in order to create new constituencies. Okay. But as far as the voter is concerned, their voting point remains the same.
Yes.
So in that respect, there is no change from the perspective of the voter as far as the voting is concerned. The only change then would be if, say, I was in constituency A, now my polling station is in constituency B, then I would be voting for candidates contesting in constituency B. But now, even that will be ably addressed because nominations in the current constitution will be in May, and during the campaign period and through sensitization of the commission, citizens will be made aware, to say, look, for your area, your residency now previously used to be in constituency A, you're now in constituency B, and naturally the candidates contesting there will be going around to campaign. So for the citizen out there, really the transition is not as difficult as the listeners or viewers out there would anticipate.
Okay, because somebody had an experience in the last election. I think they went to vote in the showgrounds. I don't know whether it's called Lubwa Ward or there was Lubwa in the showgrounds. There was Lubwa in Charleston. I think 3 places. She shared that with me, and she thought that I should bring that to your attention. The fear she had was this delimitation may lead to that. However, we will not get into that since it's an ongoing thing.
All right.
I will reach out to you in 6 months and see if we can pick up this conversation at some point and see where that will be.
But perhaps I could still speak to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it relates also to polling station names. So I think that you should, or everyone should know that in Zambia there are certain names that are very common. Okay. I mean, I'll take, for example, your Catholic schools. Yes. You have a St. Mary's in Lusaka, you have a St. Mary's in Chongo, you have a St. Mary's in Chipata, you have a St. Mary's in, okay. So in certain instances, I think you remember earlier in the conversation, we had that discussion around the so-called interrogation. The person was asking, where do you want to go and vote? What's the constituency? Yes. What's the one? So that is to avoid that. You find that if we just pick a polling station, a person may be wrongly allocated to a St. Mary's in Chongo instead of a St. Mary's in Lusaka. Okay, so those are some of the, but we've trained our officers. We continue to emphasize that, look, don't just depend on the name of the polling station. Please go through the whole hierarchy so that you appreciate this person, what constituency, what district are they really interested in going vote, so that then they are not misplaced. So that's, I think, where that could have come from. But when it comes to constituencies, I think, as I indicated earlier, it's an item that stakeholders out there should not really be worried around the impact as far as voting is concerned.
Okay. So I've managed to register as a voter. During election time on voting day, I find myself out of station because of my work. Can I vote electronically?
No, Zambia has not yet, and the Electoral Commission has not yet introduced electronic voting.
Okay.
Consultations continue to go on, but where we are at now, the voting is still paper-based, and one has to vote at the center which they applied to register to vote. Yeah, so that's the setup. Yeah.
Okay, that's a setup. All right. Is there a similar question to that, but in terms of is there a plan to change the way ballot papers are counted and results are remitted from constituencies?
The counting as of now, I think it's not as of now. The way it is designed is optimal for purposes of transparency. Okay. Stakeholders have indicated it's quite tedious, but it's designed that way for purposes of making sure that it's transparent and accurate. So on the counting side, if any changes, they'll be very minor. However, even on the transmission side, we're enhancing, the change there is really enhancing the utilization of electronic tools to bring in more efficient and higher capacity channels for transmission from the respective constituencies to head office, and also enhancing security so that then there's that smoother announcement and declaration at the respective levels of election.
Okay. Has a decision already been made where the ballot papers will be printed?
Yes, the contract was already assigned. So we will, the ballots will be printed by a company called Al Ghurair from Dubai. Yeah.
Okay. Is this the same one that did 2021?
Yes, please.
Okay, that's the same company. Okay. As we wind up, Mr. Kasaro, and thank you for taking the time to do this, to engage the diaspora community overall, although even the people in Zambia are listening and are following. What or how does the electoral calendar look like after the voter registration ends on November 11th?
Yeah, so November 11th, we conclude, then we proceed into consolidating the information to prepare the provisional register of voters, the draft register of voters, which we'll put out to the public in February for inspection. Then that will be followed by the certification, so the final production of the final register on 30th April 2026. That will be closely followed by the nominations. So candidates, aspiring candidates for the presidential, mayor or council chairperson, the National Assembly and local government, that's councillor, will be filing in their nominations around 18th to 22nd May 2026. And thereafter, we're kicking into the campaign period, which also will be an opportunity for us to conduct voter education and so forth, and then culminating into the polls come August 13th, 2026. Before that, there will be a window open for interested stakeholders to apply for accreditation to be able to observe or indeed monitor these elections. So all those timelines have been shared for people to, institutions to apply for accreditation to observe the election come 2026. Yeah.
What does it take for one to be an election monitor?
So one has to be, so they apply, so the sponsoring institution makes an application to the Electoral Commission of Zambia, indicating the institution, the registration details of the institution, and submitting the names of people that will be registered and would like to monitor, observe the election. And this is open to both local and international. For international, usually there's an invitation to a bilateral or in multilateral partners through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But for local ones, it's direct application to the Commission, to the Electoral Commission, and then the application, once processed, an accreditation card is issued, and then one goes out there into the field to monitor or observe the election, as it were.
Okay. Brenda here says, can an individual apply to monitor?
Let me, I would have to get back to you on that one. But I would have to get back to you on that one. But
Brenda, I also, that's why I asked the question, because I'm also interested in monitoring. I'm also
it should be possible, but let me verify. I could send you a message, then you could, since you have probably Brenda's contact, you could inbox her.
No, then Brenda and I will team up to come under. Mr. Kasaro, thank you for taking the time. Before we end the conversation, I would like you to speak to the importance of that verification code. Just speak to that verification code, the purpose, importance, and significance of that.
So two purposes. Firstly, while the mass registration is going on until the 11th, you can dial that short code to know which centers are open in the constituency of interest. So which centers are open in the constituency of interest. Then now, beginning now and all the way into February next year, you can use that code to check your registration details. So for now, it's those who registered in 2020 and during continuous registration. Later on, those who are registering now will also be uploaded onto the system, and they'll be able to verify their details. So you dial *214# on any of the three networks in Zambia, your Zamtel, MTN, or indeed Airtel. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our election special feature for today. Friday, November 7th, and my guest was Mr. Brown Kasaro, Chief Electoral Officer for the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The idea was for us to engage the broader Zambian community, not that just those who are in Zambia. Mr. Kasaro, thank you for taking the time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. They're grateful for the opportunity once again, and looking forward to future interactions at different stages in the process as we get to 2026.
Excellent. And I also like to give a big shout out to your team as well, Corporate Affairs Manager, Ms. Lohanga, and Raphael as well. Good job. I appreciate it. And I will reach out to you in 6 months' time. We do a follow-up, and I hope you will have it. I know that time things will be more crazy than they are now.
Understood. We'll do our best to be available.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you. Have a good weekend. All right, everybody. That was our special election feature for today. And on Friday, let me mention to you that I will not be having a show tomorrow. Please do me a favor. Just share this link to everybody so that they know that this is the conversation for today. I will not be having a show tomorrow because we have a funeral in the community. Some of you, especially those of us in Zambia, may know Movita. Movita lost his son who lives here, who was living here with his mother. And we have a funeral in Dallas, Texas, and we'll be there for the Dallas community. I just want to remind you that the wake is today from 2 to 7 p.m. and the funeral is tomorrow at 9 a.m. All the information has been shared on the Zambian community. So tomorrow there will be no show. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and I shall see you next week, and have a good weekend.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.